There is a serpent that does not flee from humans. It rises. It looks you in the eye. For generations, we believed this king ruled alone. One species stretching across jungles, mountains, farms, and sacred groves. But legends have blind spots. And the greatest secret of the King Cobra was not hidden in the shadows of the forest. It was hidden in its blood.
Disclaimer: this film is created for educational purposes. All visuals are either real footage or representative and enhanced using AI to illustrate key behaviors and environments.
For centuries, the King Cobra was a creature of myth and fear. The snake that rose higher than any other, that stared into human eyes, that ruled the jungles of India and beyond with silent authority. To most of us, there was only one king, one species, one monarch with venom enough to kill an elephant. But science would soon reveal a truth hidden beneath the scales, a truth stranger and more fragile than we ever imagined.
But behind the legend, the king was falling silent. Across Asia, encounters with king cobras were becoming rarer. Forests in the western Ghats shrank under the teeth of bulldozers. Villages expanded into once wild terrain. Snakes were run over on highways, killed out of fear, or stolen for their venom. Conservationists tried to protect the species, yet despite their efforts, populations continued to drop. Something didn't add up.
In rescue centers and snakebite research units, biologists noticed troubling inconsistencies. In some forests, the king cobra was small, rarely exceeding 10 feet. In others, it grew monstrously large, over 18 feet. Some displayed bold hood markings, others had barely visible bands. Even their behaviors varied. Some avoided humans obsessively, while others tolerated human presence, slithering through farmlands without striking. Could one species carry so many contradictions? Or was there another story waiting to be told?
Herpetologists in India and Southeast Asia began comparing notes, and patterns emerged. The cobras in the western Ghats of southern India were genetically isolated. Those in northeast India and Myanmar showed differences in skull shape. The Philippine cobras carried distinct venom proteins. The so-called one king began to fracture. Scientists asked a daring question. What if this was not one species at all? What if the king's crown was shared by many? Field researchers went deeper into the forests. Western Ghats, Indo-Burma, Sundaland, China, the Philippines. each landscape had its own king. They followed the snake's trails across bamboo thickets, rain-soaked canopies, and abandoned villages. They collected shed skins, venom samples, even fragments of tissue. Each cobra carried whispers of identity in its body, and slowly, the forest itself revealed the truth. This was not a single monarch, but a dynasty of hidden rulers.
In cramped labs, under weak electric lights, the real hunt began. Not for the snake itself, but for its code of life. DNA samples were extracted from scales and blood. Machines hummed, decoding strands of genetic material, letter by letter. The process was slow, expensive, exhausting. But every fragment brought them closer to an answer that could redefine not just the King Cobra, but the way conservation protects life itself. And then, the truth emerged. The DNA patterns were too distinct, too separate to belong to one species. What we thought was one serpent stretched across Asia was, in reality, 4. The King Cobra was not one king, but 4 monarchs, each born of its own land, each more endangered than the single species we once thought we knew. The myth shattered. The king had 4 faces.
Revealing, authoritative. The Western Ghats King Cobra of India. The Indo-Burma King Cobra of Northeast India and Myanmar. The Sunda King Cobra of Southeast Asia, and the Philippine King Cobra, each genetically unique, each carrying its own evolutionary story, its own vulnerabilities, its own battles for survival. A scientific discovery, yes, but also a conservation earthquake, because saving the King Cobra was no longer enough. Each king needed protection of its own.
India found itself holding not one, but 2 of these kings. In the lush, rain-drenched forests of the Western Ghats lives a cobra unlike any other. Longer, darker, more secretive. And far to the east, in the hills of Nagaland and Arunachal, the Indo-Burma king lurks. Smaller, but fiercer. Adapted to highland forests that border Southeast Asia. Both face unique threats. In the Western Ghats, mining and urbanization cut through sacred snake groves. In the Northeast, shifting agriculture and hunting push cobras to the edge. 2 kings, 2 battles, 1 country that could decide their fate. The reclassification changed everything. Conservation laws had to be rewritten. Each species now needed its own assessment on the IUCN Red List. Rescue operations had to adapt, recognizing which king was being saved. Funding and policy suddenly doubled in importance because a single project for the King Cobra was no longer enough. This discovery gave conservationists a powerful new argument. Protect not 1, but 4 lives, each irreplaceable, each a thread in the web of Asia's forests.
But with recognition came new dangers. The venom trade, once focused on one cobra, now had multiple targets. Deforestation continued to devour habitats in Northeast India and Southeast Asia. Roadkills and human fear claimed hundreds each year, and myths spread faster than science. Villagers believing cobras take revenge or that killing one brings safety. Each king carries not only the weight of survival, but the burden of misunderstanding. And against this tide, time is running out.
The King Cobra was never a single monarch. It was a dynasty hidden in plain sight, waiting for science to strip away illusion. 4 kings, 4 stories, bound by one truth. Their survival depends on us. Science did not just rewrite a name in a textbook. It rescued 4 rulers from vanishing without a trace. The forest is whispering a warning and a hope. Even the most powerful among us can be fragile. And sometimes, the crown is lighter when it is shared.
The King Cobra did not change. We did. For decades, we looked at one creature and saw a single story. Science tore away the illusion. 4 kings, each older than our maps, each shaped by lands we are still learning to respect. If this discovery came a decade later, one or more of them might have disappeared forever, unseen, unnamed, unprotected. Now, the question is no longer scientific. It is human. Will we protect what we have only just begun to understand? Or will these kings vanish before we learn their names? Because sometimes, extinction doesn't come from ignorance. It comes from assuming we already know the truth.